Hello, welcome to Game Rating Review. My name is Jean-Marc Lejean, and I'm talking about horror movies. Hello, I'm talking about one series of horror movies. It's from the Friday the 13th series. I'm going to go through each movie and my order of least favorite to favorite. So we're going to go through them. I'm doing this in congruency with my film rating review podcast. So please go over there and check that out. And let's get into my order in Jason's and how I like, hate them, and why they're on this part of my list. My most hated movie from the Friday the 13th series, this is my number 12, is Friday the 13th, 2009. A group of young adults discovered a boarded up Camp Crystal Lake, where they soon encounter Jason Voorhees and his deadly intentions. It got a Metacritic score of 34. I didn't like this movie. I liked the beginning, actually. I liked the opening. I thought it was new and different. But from that point forward, I was just like, and the main reason is they changed who played Jason. It was Derek Mears who played Jason, and hashtag not my Jason. He looks like Jason Voorhees. Like, he has this look about him. I can see it. But the problem is Jason runs around in this movie. And hashtag not my Jason. That's not who I grew up with. That's not who I like. That's part of the reason I hated this movie. The kills didn't mean anything half of the time. I just didn't like it. There wasn't enough build-up. I didn't like enough of the characters. I just thought this movie was lame all the way around. And if I were you, I would skip it. A lot more people like this movie than I thought. I am shocked. I had no idea, and maybe it's just people really wanting Jason back and not seeing it for what it is, like episode 1 of Star Wars. But I don't know. I don't understand, but it's my least favorite. And number 11, Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. Serial killer Jason Voorhees' supernatural origins are revealed. Yeah, so if you look at the cover of Jason Goes to Hell, that shows you what happened. So I have to give this movie props for being one of the coolest looking Jasons. I have to say, I love the evolution of Jasons through the movie. I think this is one of the coolest looking ones, and I love that they show the Necronomicon. That's also cool. Everything else I hated. I hated the characters, and I hated the stupid story. See, in the beginning of Jason Goes to Hell, they kill him. They destroy him into pieces, and then the only thing left of him is a little lizard creature. Now, it's been a while since I've seen the cover of Jason Goes to Hell, and they show this little monster on the front of it. Yeah, that's what Jason turns into, this little lizard monster thing. That's what he is through the movie. He hops from body to body and people killing them. So you're giving me a Jason movie without the satisfaction of seeing Jason kill people. Just regular people kill people. If I wanted that, I'd watch Night of the Body Snatchers or something. I wouldn't watch a Jason movie. This is not why we watch the Jason movie. I know they want to do something different, but they also built in a lot of mythology that had nothing to do with Jason Voorhees. That was never brought up before. They established all these rules that didn't mean anything. It was one of my most hated ones until 2009 came out, and then that one superseded it. So this is hashtag also not my Jason, because Jason isn't a worm to me, even though this movie is in canon now, I guess. Number 10, Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, Part 5. Still haunted by his past, Tommy Jarvis, who, as a child, killed Jason Voorhees, wonders if the serial killer is connected to a series of brutal murders occurring in and around a secluded halfway house where he now lives. Now, I do have to give this movie props from getting away from Crystal Lake and trying a new location. And I do like how they try to tie the movie before it together, which is much more superior, and have Corey Feldman come in and start the movie, but then it switches over to him when he's older, and to a character who looks nothing like him, who acts nothing like him. So that's a little weird. I kind of like this guy, but I wish he wouldn't have played that character, actually. I think he would have been more dynamic as another character. I actually don't mind all of the characters in this movie, and I think some of it's really funny. I hated the backwoods country people in this movie. It ruined the movie for me. If they weren't in it, I would like it more. I hate them. They're a waste of time and energy. If they cut them out of this movie, it would be a far superior movie in every way, shape, or form. And spoiler alert, people are upset that the Jason in this one isn't Jason. It's another dude pretending to be Jason. And guess what? I didn't hate it. I saw that and I was like, wow, what a twist. It wasn't Jason. What? No, my Jason. And you're right, it's not a Jason. So yeah, not my Jason, not a Jason. Same thing, I guess, to some people. I thought it was refreshing when I watched it. I thought it was new and different. The only reason this is so low on my list are those stupid country people. I hated them vehemently. I liked a lot of other things in this. I actually liked the older brother, younger brother, the older brother in the bathroom scene. I love that scene. I hate them so much. And yes, this is also deducted because it's not really Jason, sure. But I didn't super hate it a lot. I thought it was great. Number 9, Friday the 13th, Part 8. Jason Takes Manhattan. Oh, how I count the ways this movie upset me. The first time I ever saw this movie was last year. Now, I forgot to tell you, last year I watched every single Jason movie in order. I've never done that before. Last year was my first time doing it. I'd watched them here or there. It was first time watching them in order, seeing how Jason grew to what he is now. It was interesting. This was the first time I watched Jason Takes Manhattan all the way through. And it takes part on a boat like 70 to 80% to 90% of the movie. Then when they get to New York, it's all these fake looking alleyways that you know isn't New York. There's maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 shots of them really in New York, but I think they really filmed in Canada, and it just was terrible. I love the kill of him knocking that kid's head off. That was great. I also kind of like the disco scene on the boat. That was cool. I didn't like the kids. I thought they were kind of weird. I didn't like the characters. And it wasn't Jason Takes Manhattan. What you're thinking is him just killing a bunch of people. And then he does stuff out of character. Like he's going through a subway and he's just not killing every single person in there. He's solely motivated on one person, which is... I don't think Jason's ever done. If he went into a bus full of people, he would kill all of them. Why would he hold back? He's an undead psychotic killer. At this point, by this movie, he's died so many times. 8 times? And the ending is so stupid. And it doesn't make any sense. They fill up the sewers with toxic waste? That isn't even true. That isn't even real. There may be a little toxic waste in the sewers. Maybe you have to fill up the whole thing, and then Jason turns into a kid? Number 8, Jason X. Jason Voorhees returns with a new look, a new machete, his same murderous attitude as he's awakened on a spaceship in the 25th century. A Metacritic score of 25. Jason X. A lot of my friends saw this before me and told me not to watch it. It's a terrible movie. It's not even that great. Then I had some other friends later in life say, I actually thought it was funny. I actually thought it was really clever. First time I watched this movie, I hated it. I thought it was really lame. Then when I watched it last year in my series of Jason films, it wasn't as bad as I remember. Yes, the acting was bad. Yes, some of the one-liners were bad. But I really like Jason in this movie. I liked him as Jason before he goes to space. I liked him as Jason in space. And the kills are the best. Sure, the setting sucks. Sure, the acting sucks. The budget was terrible. But the kills were great. Jason was great. I actually like the look of Jason X. The metal Jason X I thought actually looked kind of cool. And I almost wish they would have made a second Jason X just so I can see what he could do with this new body and see how people can figure their ways around it. I shockingly like this. This is shockingly not like, further down on my list. This is higher up. Jason Takes Manhattan disappointed me. Jason X actually got better with time, shockingly enough. And you can't watch this movie like, oh man, Jason, he's metal. My Jason isn't metal. I can understand that. I was kind of happy to see something different, but not so different. It was still Kane Hodder as Jason. It was still Jason being Jason. He was just an upgrade. What I wish they would have done is had two Jasons, an old Jason and a new Jason. They just cloned Jason to a new futuristic Jason, but you still get the old Jason, you still get the new Jason. Instead of turning him into the new age Jason, he's just a clone of the previous one. I guess they kind of did that, but I wish they wouldn't have just killed Jason. I don't know. I didn't super hate it, but I can see why you would. Number 7, Freddy vs. Jason. Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees return to terrorize a teenage population. Except this time, they're out to get each other. Metacritic score of 37. Now, I know, some people were thinking, why is it so high on your list? Why isn't this like one of the worst films ever? The first time I saw it, wasn't my first Freddy film, it wasn't my first Jason film. I loved it. I loved this movie so much. I thought it was amazing. I thought the action was great. I thought the plot was interesting and made sense to how these characters would come together. I liked the acting by some of these actors. It was actually kind of cool. I didn't like the pothead, whatever, but I actually thought the plot made sense and it was cool. Some people brought up, why would Jason be afraid of water if he's always in there? And he drowned in it. I guess that's a complaint, but I love this movie. And here's a counterpoint to people that didn't like this movie. How else would you do a movie called Freddy vs. Jason? Do you not want to see them fight each other? I mean, what were you expecting? Them to slowly scare each other to death? That doesn't make sense. It makes more sense that it's an action movie and they're going to use a machete and Freddy Krueger's fingers to kill each other with. That makes so much more sense. And this fight was actually more epic than the fight in Batman vs. Superman because there are actual stakes and they actually built up to it and the ending made more sense than Martha. So yeah, I even say Freddy vs. Jason is a better movie than Batman vs. Superman, and I'm going to get a lot of poop for that. But oh man, I love this movie. I don't understand why people hate this movie. They said, oh, it's just a wrestling match. Or yes, it's called Freddy vs. Jason, not Freddy hugs Jason. Not Freddy tries to scare Jason or Jason tries to scare Freddy. What do you want? Oh man, people are so... Number 6, Jason Lives, Friday the 13th, Part 6. Tommy Jarvis goes to the graveyard to get rid of Jason Voorhees' body once and for all, but inadvertently brings him back to life instead. The newly revived killer once again seeks revenge, and Tommy may be the only one who can defeat him. This is some people's number 1 favorite Jason movie. Like, there's no better. You can't get better than this one. You got Tommy Jarvis. You have a good final girl in it. You have Jason being great. Jason with the big mask. Very iconic. I actually didn't love Tommy Jarvis. He was okay. And the final girl, I think she was good. She was fine. I just thought she was a little too happy to be like too carefree in this situation, I guess. And I didn't like the relationship with the girl and her dad at all. I didn't care. There was a whole lot of unnecessary kills. The paintballers, the woman and guy in a vehicle, they had nothing to do with the story. They had nothing to do with anything. And they just died for no reason. I guess they just needed the kill count to be greater, but there was no character development to these people. And yeah, there's not a whole lot of character development to a lot of these people, but they just were like, hey, we're in the woods. Hey, I guess we're dead. And that was their whole arc, I guess. Those scenes were just terrible. And I do like the ending of this movie a lot, and that's why it's higher up. I do like Jason on this, another reason why it's higher up. But God, those pointless kills and the people that they kill I hated too. These slapstick, exaggerated versions of people I just didn't like. So that's where it lands. Number 5, Friday the 13th, Part 7. The New Blood. Years after Tommy Jarvis changed him underwater at Camp Crystal Lake, the dormant Jason Voorhees returns to the campground when he's accidentally released from prison by telekinetic means. I really like this one. I really, really like this one a lot. And it took me 3 to 8 hours to decide where I was going to put all of these. Like, it took me 3 hours to put the initial list together, and then I just thought about it for several more hours. Where should, like, I put the section off the ones I liked and the ones I hated, and then I had to figure out where they went, and I kept switching them around, and then I stuck to it, and then I stuck to it, and then I stuck to it. And so that's where we're at now. This one is one of my favorites because it is different in the way that is, to me, believable, where they're not changing the lore of Jason at all, but they're changing the world around him, having someone who is psychic go up against Jason. I like that. I actually like this final girl in here as the final girl, and I like that she's saving the guy in this one. I like the kills in this one a whole lot. I like Jason in this one a whole lot, and some people are like, oh, it's just the same old thing, but I disagree. Some people hated the ending when her dad jumps out and grabs him. I don't care. She has magic powers. She magicked her dad to not have any decay on his face. Maybe it was just his ghost. Who's to say it was his reanimated body? Maybe his ghost came back up and grabbed Jason, and Jason got decayed and his dad didn't. It doesn't matter. What matters is I liked it because it was different. I liked the fight against Jason. I liked seeing Jason getting burned. I liked his face in this one. I really just surprisingly liked it a lot. Number 4, Friday the 13th, Part 3. Having revived from his wound, Jason Voorhees takes refuge at a cabin near Crystal Lake. As a group of co-eds arrive there for vacation, Jason continues his killing spree. For some reason, this third entry in the Friday the 13th series is some people's most hated. I had no idea until I looked it up. I was trying to decide which order to put it in, so I looked up to see other people's lists. Maybe they can inform me. Maybe I could figure something. I don't know. And what I found out from critics and other people, that this is one of the least liked. People are like, well, it's lame. It doesn't even take place on Friday the 13th. And he's in a barn the whole time. And they use these dumb 3D effects. And I don't like the characters. Okay, but it all originated on Friday the 13th, right? The second one was on Friday the 13th. So it's the effects of... So I understand. It doesn't matter to me. It's where Jason gets his iconic mask is in this third one. And I love the 3D effects in this. I don't have a 3D TV. The 3D effects make me laugh. And the fat guy that everyone hates in this one, I actually kind of liked him. I kind of thought he was enduring. And I felt sorry for him in the whole movie. I'm like, why is everyone being a butthole to him? I don't understand that. But I really enjoyed watching this movie, and I was into it. I was like, yes, I'm on board. I'm on board with the silly 3D. I'm on board with it all being in continuity, it all being in there. I loved it. I don't understand why people hated this movie, but it wasn't the strongest Friday the 13th, in my opinion, so that's why it got where it is now. Number 3, Friday the 13th, the final chapter, which is confusing. It's actually Friday the 13th, Part 4. After being mortally wounded and taken to the morgue, murdered Jason Voorhees spontaneously revives, embarking on a killing spree as he makes his way back to his home in Camp Crystal Lake. The only problem I have with this one is the opening scene with some overweight woman who likes bananas, I think, and she gets killed by Jason Voorhees. It gets docked a little bit because of that. Otherwise, I love this movie. It is the 4th installment. If you're watching these, I highly suggest you watch the first 4 because they're great. It ends with this one. It ends with Corey Feldman. He does a great job. It reminds me of the Goonies. I really liked him in this. He's not like an annoying kid. Crispin Glover is also in this, and he is fantastically weird. And he has some very weird lines, and I love him in this. And I think he is worth watching. And I hope they do make a remake of Friday the 13th with him in it, because that'd be so weird. I love this movie. The ending is great. The build-up is great. It is such a great movie, and yes, and this is also a lot of people's number ones, and I don't blame them, but for me, it's not. Number 2, Friday the 13th, Part 2. Miss Voorhees is dead. Camp Crystal Lake is shut down, but a camp next to the infamous place is stalked by an unknown assailant. This is Baghead Jason, so he doesn't have his mask yet. It is after everything that happened in the first one. It is a direct sequel with the final girl from the first one, spoiler alert, dying right at the beginning of this one. And I love the ending. The final girl in this one is my favorite final girl out of all the other ones. I love this movie. It's really good. It's Jason being Jason. It is the campers trying to figure him out. It is a lot of scary scenes, a lot of good kills. I love this movie so much, and it is definitely my number 2. And number 1, obviously, is Friday the 13th, that came out in 1980, the original one. A group of camp counselors are stalked and murdered by an unknown assailant while trying to reopen a summer camp, which years before was the site of a child's drowning. So yes, the original Friday the 13th. Of course, this is my number 1. It blew me away. Like, I hadn't seen this in a very long time. So whenever I watched it, I was like, what? The fact that they pulled the things off that they did on a shoestring budget. The fact that it was creepy and menacing and you didn't know what was happening. And then the reveal that you think it's Jason because, you've heard of Jason Voorhees, but then it ended up being his mom at the end. And she's just insane. It's great. It's a great movie. It's so good. It's so well done. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and it was so surprising how good it was. So I'm telling you, if you watch these movies, watch the first 4, skip the 5th one, and watch 6 and 7, and then watch Freddy vs. Jason, and you'll be happy. That's the order I think you should go in, but I enjoyed these. I loved the journey. I love the first one so much, and it's hard for other ones to compare to that first one, in my opinion, because it's so iconic and it's so good. And I know, wow, it's a big surprise. You choose the first one for your number 1, but a lot of people didn't. Shockingly enough, a lot of people didn't choose the first one. And I was like, really? Okay. Please tell me how you feel about them. I really enjoyed them. I thought that these were great. And hopefully you did too. Tell me if you disagree. I want to know about it. Tell me if you don't think they're good. Tell me about it. I want to know. And that's my opinion on the Friday the 13th movies.